The following is a local resident producers program. The program content is the sole responsibility of the producer and does not necessarily reflect the views or policies of CATV2, Oshkosh Community Media Services, the City of Oshkosh, or Time Warner Cable.
Hi everybody, welcome to Eye on Oshkosh. I'm Cheryl Hentz and very pleased to be joined this evening by someone who's been here. Is it once or twice in the past? Once?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're going to make you a regular guest.
That's fine.
Emily Dieringer is here, and she is the, and I have to look at this title, Coalition Coordinator for Rethink, the Lakeshore Tobacco Prevention Network with the Winnebago County Health Department.
Yes.
So anyway, thank you very much for being here.
You're welcome.
We
Thanks
had
for
another
having me.
guest scheduled, and she got hung up on jury duty, and you were kind enough and free enough to be able to come in and pinch
Yep,
hit. So,
no problem.
So we've rescheduled that guest, and we slid you into tonight. So we're grateful that you're here. But the timing is good because just last week, and we're taping this on the 18th of November, and it was a week and 1 day ago actually, that the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services has unveiled some of its new proposed warnings and graphics that they want on cigarette packs and advertisements. I guess those would be in print and so forth.
Magazine ads, yeah.
Yeah, because we don't see those on TV anymore.
No, thankfully, yes.
So anyway, let's talk a little bit about this. Do you know what these proposed graphics are going to look like and what the warning is going to say?
Yeah, they're on the Health and Human Services website. There are 9 different text or phrases that will be on the labels, and those are, I think, definite. Those are the text pieces, and then they have multiple different variations of graphic pieces that go with those text pieces. So the image parts are still, they're not quite sure yet, and the public is open to help decide what warning labels they think would be the most effective, but the text pieces are there. The text are things that, cigarettes cause cancer, cigarette smoke is harmful to others, all things that are true when it comes to using tobacco and using cigarettes. So they're a long time coming and definitely a step up from the Surgeon General warnings that are currently on the tobacco.
Will they even reference the Surgeon General anymore, or will they just be very straightforward, matter of fact?
I don't think so. I think the text is just, matter of fact, this is the truth. You can die from using tobacco products. That's pretty much the general gist of most of the messaging. So
yeah, and what kind of prompted this? I mean, I realize it is a long time in coming, but what has prompted the change?
A lot of work in tobacco prevention and control all throughout the United States, from the state level to the local level, advocates pushing for more regulation of tobacco products. The FDA was given regulatory authority over tobacco I think in 2009, and this is part of that legislation to increase the warning labels, or make the warning labels more graphic and bigger and cover more of the package itself. We've seen in other countries that they have these already, and they work to help reduce smoking. Tobacco use and cigarette use is still the #1 killer in the United States, and this is going to help it's another piece of the puzzle that's going to help reduce secondhand smoke and smoking rates among adults and youth.
Sure. You mentioned that these types of things are already being used in other countries, and that they're working. Do you have any kind of statistics? And if you don't have it handy, that's all right. You didn't know I was going to ask that question.
Right.
I didn't know you were going to bring it up. But but do you have any sense of how well it's been working over there?
Right.
in these
There's
other countries?
been I think around 30 other countries all across the world, and it's not just industrialized nations. I mean, these are some of these nations are what you would consider not your top 50 or whatever.
Right.
And they, when they implement them, it's part of a comprehensive effort, but they do see decreases, significant decreases over a relatively short period of time. I think one, and don't quote me on the number exactly, but in Canada, just our neighbor to the north, they implemented these kinds of graphic packaging or graphic warnings on the packaging, and in 10 years their smoking rates went down by 20%.
Wow.
Something about that. So that's significant.
That is.
Yeah, especially when we've been making really great strides, not only in the United States but here in Wisconsin, to get those numbers to go down. But now they're kind of leveling off, and this is going to be another swift kick in the butt to those numbers to keep them going down.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about some statistics, other statistics and that kind of thing, but let me throw a political question out there. And I know you're not a politician, but
I am not. Nor do I want to be.
but this, it is a political issue because from a few different angles. I mean, number one, people, say, government should stop regulating us and telling us what to do and so on and so forth. But then you've got the other political issue of, okay, it's, we got to protect other people's health. We're watching out for other people. And then there's still a third political issue, and that's the money. It costs a lot to buy cigarettes, and yet we see people doing it day in and day out. They obviously have the money for it, or they're taking it from somewhere. But if the state, and the state moves in one direction to, curtail the smoking habits of people, and with the end result being elimination. But on the other hand, they raise the tax on tobacco. They say to try and help stifle the use. But we all know it's also to help balance budgets or to not have, we don't have a balanced budget, so I don't think we'll ever see that. But it's to help, fill the gap in the deficit that the state has. And so it's sort of a juggling act. These two things are juxtaposed constantly.
Right, exactly.
So what do we do?
Yeah, it's, going back to the first point where, we don't want government regulating, our stuff or whatever. Tobacco contains nicotine, which is a drug, and it's basically the only legal drug product on the market that hadn't been regulated by the FDA ever. No one was watching out for tobacco products or anything. The tobacco industry could do anything they wanted to their products and put anything they wanted into their products, raise the level of nicotine and not tell anybody, and no one knew. Right. So this is the first thing that, it's at the level playing field now. It's just like any other drug that is regulated and overseen by the FDA. So that is a non-issue as we're concerned as people's rights, or don't tell me what to do. It's like, well, that should have been regulated a really long time ago. Right. But as for the taxes, we raise the taxes, like you said, to help people quit or to not start, because it's a cost issue. If they don't have the money, they're going to start smoking less or quit completely or not start. Those tax increases, we've seen several in Wisconsin in the last few years, as well as a big one for the federal tax. And there is strong correlation between raising the cigarette tax and people quitting. So that's how we advocate for it. We want people to quit, so we raise the tax, because we know the higher the cost, the more people don't use. So that's good. However, then you're relying on the cigarette tax for part of your budget,
right? And
eventually we're hoping that it goes so high that people stop completely. But it is a balancing act, because you raise it by $1, the state tax by $1, you're going to have X amount of people quit, but it's not going to give you enough people to quit to see a decrease in the taxes that you're collecting.
Right.
So, you know, some politicians will say, well, we don't want to increase the tax anymore because that's just a tax that eventually is going to tax itself out of not having a tax anymore. And we haven't seen that anywhere. There still will be people smoking. Nicotine is a strong drug and people are addicted to it and they will continue to smoke. You know, we can do everything we can to help bring those numbers down to reduce the cost to the taxpayer for health-related costs related to tobacco-related illnesses. And that's another big thing that, you know, Wisconsin spends $2.2 billion a year in health-related costs just for tobacco-related illnesses. So, you know, increasing the tax not only brings money into the state, but also will reduce that $2.2 billion in healthcare costs that's coming out of, you know, many taxpayers' pockets.
So that may balance out at some point, but a long time probably.
Oh yeah,
that happens.
You know, tobacco and government has always been very together.
Yes.
And it's only in the last few years that, you know, the state legislature and the federal government have kind of come around and said, hey, no, you know what? We can do a lot of good through legislation to help protect people's health, as well as, you know, increase some of our revenue coming into the state and decrease the healthcare costs that we're paying out for these tobacco-related illnesses.
Sure. Well, and I'm sure that, I mean, you guys don't actually go to Madison and lobby.
No.
But,
no, we don't.
But there are lobbyists
Right.
who go and do lobby the lawmakers, the politicians, on your behalf. And I'm sure that those are some of the very arguments that they're hearing.
Right.
You know, and probably a number of others too, from the lobbying organizations for the tobacco industry.
Yeah.
So, interesting arguments. Well, let's talk about some of the statistics here.
Sure.
You were good enough to, you know, refer me to this fact sheet here from Smoke Free Wisconsin and the Tobacco Control Resource Center for Wisconsin. And you can see this at smokefreewi.org in case you're interested, or at www.tobwis.org.
Yep.
But, you know, and you maybe don't have these committed to memory here. So
Some of them I do, surprisingly.
Let's talk about the tobacco use, because you know the heading on here says tobacco kills too many Wisconsinites, and that's true. So let's talk about how many people are dying on an annual basis, you know, from tobacco
Yeah,
use.
in Wisconsin, about 7,700 people die every year from tobacco-related illnesses. About 700 of those people die from secondhand smoke-related illnesses. So, you know, that's more people that die from tobacco-related illnesses than AIDS and HIV, suicide, homicide, car crashes, and the flu. Just, you know, regular sicknesses combined. Yeah. So it's still the number one killer. You know, heart disease and lung cancer are two of the biggest illnesses that people get from tobacco smoke. So that's your number one preventable risk factor right there. So it's still out there. We've made, you know, really great efforts in the last few years to get those numbers down, but, you know, 7,700 people still die every year, which is a lot of people.
What, and I haven't had a chance here to kind of peruse through the rest. Well, healthcare costs,
huge, yeah.
You know, $2.8 billion in Wisconsin alone, you know, and that is tremendous. And the per pack price for cigarettes, this I found staggering.
Right.
You know, I can remember, and I smoked many years ago, you know, I can't recall offhand what I paid for a pack of cigarettes, but it was nowhere near this.
Right.
You've got to be crazy to, you know, and maybe, you know, semi-rich to be to be able to, $9.53
right,
for a pack of cigarettes?
No, that's how much it costs for the health care, that $2.8 billion.
All right, because I was going to say, that is unreal.
Right, that's how much it costs in New York State or New York City.
Okay,
but our pack of cigarettes right now in Wisconsin is about $7 a pack.
Well, it's
still a lot.
That's a lot.
$2.52 of that price is state tax.
Okay.
But we pay, meaning state, the taxpayers or the healthcare costs in general, pay $9.53 for every pack sold. That's how much money has to go out to pay healthcare costs.
So if you add the $9.53 then to the actual cost of a pack of cigarettes, you're at $16 or $17.
Right. You know, some of our advocates and some of our partners say, you know, our job's not done until we get our state tax at $9.53 a pack to pay, to have all of the money that's going to tobacco, to buy tobacco, to go back to paying for all those healthcare costs. So.
The Wisconsin Tobacco Prevention and Control Program, now this is targeted primarily, well, maybe I shouldn't say it so matter-of-factly. Is it targeted primarily at youth? Or are you trying to reach everybody?
It's everybody, but youth is our really big focus. We were focusing on everybody in general, especially workers, with our Smoke-Free Air campaign, and that passed in July. So our next big effort and our next movement is going to be specifically for youth prevention. We have a statewide movement called FACT, which is Fighting Against Corporate Tobacco. It's completely made up of youth 13 to 18 years old, and they go out and talk to their peers, and they go out and talk to anyone from the city council to the mayor to important people that need to know about these things, and they expose the tobacco industry for their marketing tactics and how they're trying to use their products and their advertising to manipulate youth into thinking that their products are okay to use.
Yeah.
So that's going to be something that we're really going to be working on a lot for 2011. Sadly, our funding was cut in the middle of 2009 from $15 million statewide to about $6.8 million statewide.
Wow.
Yeah, 55% cut. So all those great things and all of those youth groups that are getting together, we don't have the funding to support as many as we used to. So it's really a shame because they just do bang up work, and they're the people that really care, and they're the people that are being targeted by the industry, and they're the people that want to speak out.
Sure. So even though your funding, it took a huge hit, what has that done in the way of your programming? I mean, it sounds like you're still continuing with some of these things, but have you had to curtail some of your programming as a result of that?
Definitely. We used to have a coalition coordinator like myself in almost every county in the state, and now we only have about 15 coordinators statewide. So we're covering a lot more area, which means we can't do as many things in as many places because we just don't have the manpower, we don't have the resources, we don't have the time to get everywhere. So it's kind of like we're doing less with less, which is unfortunate because, the need is still out there, and big tobacco didn't just up and leave, now that we got our smoke-free air law. So
yeah. Well, and I would think though that, youth talking to youth, I would think that would probably have more impact and be more effective than adults trying to talk to youth.
Definitely.
Kids don't want to hear what we adults have to say.
No, they don't.
Because they're young and they know better.
Right.
So who better to talk to them than their peers?
Right, exactly. And I was just at Oshkosh-North this past week, and talking to them about FACT and what it is, and seeing if I could gauge some interest. And I was pleasantly surprised by how engaged they were about wanting to take on the tobacco industry and say, hey, that's not right, that's not cool, they shouldn't be targeting me, I don't want to pay them all my money, and they don't care, and they're out to get us with all these candy flavored products and all of these new things that are coming out, and it really opened their eyes, and they actually want to take action and do something on it, and I think that's so exciting. And it's unfortunate that we don't have the funding that we used to have to do more of that kind of stuff. So.
Sure. Are there any other statistics here that you think would be important to share with folks? I realize they can just go to the website. You kind of talked about, flavored products appealing to Wisconsin youth, and there's a picture here of Tic Tacs and Orbs.
Right.
Explain to us the coalition there. I mean, I understand they look like candy, and kids maybe think of them as candy, but what do those have to do with the tobacco thing other than freshening breath? Right.
The Orbs are a tobacco product, and they are a dissolvable tobacco product that is being test marketed in a couple different states. And the packaging looks like a Tic Tac. The product itself looks like a Tic Tac, but it's tobacco. It contains nicotine. It contains sometimes some of the tests we've shown had shown more nicotine than one cigarette in one of those little tablets. So it's kind of saying, well, how can you say that these are adult products when they look so much like gum or candy or mints, things that are okay for kids? So, we show that to youth, and they're like, do you think that they're trying to market to you guys? And they all are like, yeah. That looks like something that I carry in my pocket all the time. So, and it's scary for parents because if they aren't aware of these products, their kid could have a product like that and not even know that it's tobacco and not know that there's nicotine in it. They could be, going down the road of addiction, and it's scary that how similar all of these products look.
Well, yeah. I mean, here I am. I'm sitting here looking at the picture, and just to look at it, I mean, it even says fresh, you know, as if, okay, fresh breath.
Right.
But then the interesting thing that I found out that I see with orbs is, and I realize people can't see this, you don't happen to have.
I don't have orbs because
okay,
they're not in Wisconsin.
Okay. But it's interesting because it's green packaging, and then there's an actual camel on it, sort of like the Camel cigarettes.
It is.
That we used to.
It's their brand. It's their little
Oh,
logo
okay.
brand, but it doesn't say camel on it. It just
Right,
has
you just
the
see the
little
picture
camel.
of
Yeah.
the camel. Very interesting. I see. Until I saw this, I had, and you spoke about this. I had no idea that that's what this was all about.
Right. And that's what's
these
scary.
are legal. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, they're just a regular legal tobacco product. It's dissolvable. It's the new form.
And are they legal for youth to buy those or no?
No,
Okay.
no, it's still a tobacco product, and you need to be 18 to buy them. But it's. I don't want to say it's so obvious that they're marketing to youth, but you ask youth, do you think that they're marketing to you, and they say yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
with flavors of mango, grape, strawberry, peach, watermelon, sour apple, and chocolate. Those are all cigar flavors.
Yeah.
That's the flavors that cigars come in, and those are flavors that kids like, that they're used to. I say those flavors, and kids say, well, what do those flavors mean to you? Ice cream, popsicles, gum, candy, like those are products that are okay for kids to like, and the tobacco also comes in that. It's like, really? That's really?
Kind of coincidental.
Yeah, coincidence.
One of the things, I didn't have a chance to print this off before I came over here today, but in the news today was kind of an encouraging story, I thought, in that...
I hope I saw it.
Well, in that I don't have it printed off, I'm hoping that I refer to this correctly, but the complaints about smoking in public places, those are dwindling a lot. Since the new law went into effect in July. So I think that's very encouraging.
Yes, it's been very successful. There were about 200 complaints in July, which is when the law went into effect, and there's only been 80 something in October. So I mean, it's going steadily down, and we've seen that in other states that have gone smoke-free and have set up similar complaint lines. But 80 something in the entire state of Wisconsin, which is 200,000 businesses.
Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing. So that just goes to show that how important this is to people of Wisconsin and to employers, that they're taking the law seriously, and they're being compliant, and they're following the law, and they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, which is protecting people from secondhand smoke, which is awesome.
Absolutely. And I want to talk, since we were kind of focusing this a little bit on the youth, you guys, one of the things that you do, among so many others, is you do alcohol and tobacco compliance checks at area businesses. And before we move into the alcohol checks, let's talk about what the tobacco checks have shown lately. What kind of results are we seeing there?
Right. Well, we've actually in Winnebago County have seen a huge decrease in the number of retailers that are selling illegally to minors. Last year, 2009, Winnebago County ended up with a 25% non-compliance rate, which means 1 out of 4 businesses sold tobacco to our minors, which was I think the 4th or 5th highest county in the state. So not a number we want to be proud of. Right. But right now we're not completely done with checks, so we're still going out between November and December to businesses to do the checks. But as of where we stand right now, we're at 7% non-compliance, which is the lowest number it's been in this county since we've started doing checks in 2000. So that's huge, to say that the retailers are taking this law seriously. They're checking IDs. They're not selling to minors. It's great, because the more times we can keep tobacco out of the hands of youth, the more ways we can keep them away from it, the less likely they're going to use it. So
sure,
that's excellent.
One thing, and that is good. One thing that is disappointing to me, and I don't understand why it's not been done. I know our local police have a lot of things to do, but I live fairly close to Oshkosh West High, and I see kids walking back and forth to the high school, to the convenience stores, back to the high school, or they're loitering around the local convenience stores that are close to school, and they're all, for the most part, smoking on cigarettes. And I don't understand why they've got a liaison officer, you know, and I'm sure, again, he's got his hands full or she's got her hands full. But I really wish that periodically the cops would just pull up to these places and ask these kids to see their ID. You know,
Right.
if they're not 18, give them a citation. You know, as an organization and a county agency, I'm sure you work closely with the police. Has that subject been broached with them, or?
Oh yeah, lots of times. What we have set up right now is a tobacco diversion program for youth that get cited for underage tobacco possession. So we do have kids that get cited. We do have them pay their tickets, or they can come take our class, which is a 3-hour-long class on a Saturday. And it's not a quit smoking class, but it's more of opening your eyes to tobacco and open your eyes to your use of it, and kind of maybe point them on a different path, kind of a thing. So they can take that class instead of paying their ticket, and then their ticket gets dismissed off of their record. We do have several youth that take advantage of that. We just held a class at the end of October, and we had 9 or 10 kids in that class. So, you know, they are getting cited, and they choose to take this class instead of paying their ticket. So, you know, studies have shown that, you know, just giving a kid a citation isn't going to get them to quit smoking. If the citation is not very much money, it doesn't put a dent in their pocketbook. If it's a ton of money, their parents end up paying for it, and they don't learn anything. So, you know, giving a youth a citation isn't going to get them to quit smoking. It's not addressing their addiction. It's not addressing the reasons why they started smoking in the first place. So that's what that diversion class does. And you know, as the police, like you said, you know, they've got lots of things on their plate.
Yeah, they do.
And you know, and they do periodically go around. It's kind of difficult to say, oh yes, you were specifically smoking, because they'll drop their cigarettes as soon as they see someone coming. You know, so. And some of them are 18, and that's the hardest part, is that, you know, seniors that turn 18, they can go buy cigarettes for all of their friends that are younger, and then just, you know, sell them for $1 or whatever they are. So, you know, it's definitely an issue. It's not something that we focus completely all of our efforts on, because we know that, you know, promoting things like FACT in the schools, getting kids not to start in the first place, and exposing them to what Big Tobacco is trying to do, that's going to be more effective than you know, just giving kids tickets. But in the last 4 years, there's a little stat that I did not give you, because I found it out the other day.
Holding out on me.
I know, right? In the school district of Oshkosh specifically, smoking rates among 9th graders have gone down 26% in 4 years.
Wow, that's
so
good.
yeah, which is huge. I mean, 26%, that's a quarter less kids smoking in 9th grade than were 4 years ago. So
How early are they starting usually?
11,
What's the
12,
Okay.
11 or 12 years old, so junior high. You know, you get to high school and it's almost too late. There is a big jump between freshmen and sophomores, though. So a lot of freshmen, it's a lower number of freshmen that smoke as opposed to sophomores, and it'll gradually go up as kids get older.
Okay, so it's not illegal for the kids to be smoking. They just can't legally purchase the product.
They can't legally purchase it. They can't legally possess it.
Okay.
So whether or not they're using it, whether or not they're smoking it, they could have a pack of cigarettes in their pocket. They could get cited for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if they're smoking, if they're puffing on the cigarette, they're possessing it.
Right.
So really,
That's why
it's
that's written
illegal,
like that way.
It's illegal all the way around,
Right.
no matter how you
Right.
slice it. But the biggest place to catch them, I suppose, is actually making the purchase. And
Yeah.
that's what the compliance checks are for.
Yeah, we want to make sure that businesses aren't selling to youth, because that's one thing we can control. We can't control parents giving cigarettes to their kids. We can't control older brother, sister giving cigarettes to their younger brother, sister.
Yeah.
We can control where they get them initially, though, at the convenience stores and the gas stations and the grocery stores and wherever else.
Okay. Well, let's move into, in our remaining time, let's move into alcohol and talk a little bit about that. There was recently, and I have to refer to my notes here on that, because I recently saw on the Northwestern's website where the Winnebago County Sheriff's Department conducted alcohol sales compliance checks on November 12th. So just like a week ago. And this was a grant-funded thing that they did. And underage youth worked with plainclothes and uniformed officers, just like they do with the tobacco compliance checks. Give us a little rundown here of what they found. I was impressed with these numbers.
Yeah,
actually.
the most recent checks that the Winnebago County Sheriffs did, they did 28 checks and they only had one sale, which is amazing considering they did checks in the summer and about 25% sold at those first round of checks. So, it's good to do checks multiple times in a year because maybe businesses aren't aware, they're not sure, they don't know what's going on, or, they don't realize that their standards or their protocol for checking IDs isn't up to par, so they'll get cited the first time or a warning or whatever the circumstance calls for, and then we come back again and then they're like, oh yeah, check the ID. This kid doesn't look old enough. Oh, now I know how to read an ID. That, and it's sometimes it's just as simple as that. It's like, hey, did you know that someone under 21 has a vertical license? You might want to look at it a little more closely to make sure they're old enough. So it's simple things like that. But it's great to see that the last round of checks that there were so few sales. There was only one, which is really, really great.
Well, and I think it doesn't seem like it should be confusing, but it might be to someone. If you've got a younger person working the cash register at one of these convenience stores, it's 21 for alcohol, but it's 18 for tobacco. And, I can see where that, for someone especially younger, might get confused on that.
Well, and the DMV has made changes to licenses now that they're right underneath the picture. There's a little red box that says turns 21 on.
There you go.
Turns 18 on. And it tells you the exact date, like the birthday and the year when they turn 18. However, most businesses still train their employees with the old licenses where you had to do the math and look at their birthday and, you have to be born on such and such a day in order to have this, and such a date in order to buy this. And that gets people confused. I mean, to do simple math like that, you're like, oh, well, that's just simple math. But there's like a lot of other things that you're doing in a day.
Well, a lot of people don't know how to do simple math anymore, because simple math isn't necessarily simple math anymore.
It's confusing, and those when you see like a calendar at a bar and it says this is the day that you should be born on. Well, what logo's on that calendar? If it's an alcohol product, it might be meant to be confusing. It's those kinds of things that they have to look at, and it's like, we've made good efforts on our licenses to, have them in a vertical format if they're underage for something, and have those little bars. But people aren't aware of that because they have their old license and they're not 18 and they're not 16. So we have to make sure that they have that education.
Sure. And how do you go about educating them? Do you have like a set educational seminar, or
yes, actually.
Do you really?
Yeah, we do.
Okay, all right.
For tobacco, we don't. That's a little different. But for alcohol, we have this new program in Winnebago County called Cheers, Responsible Beverage Server Training. Okay. So it's an hour-long class. It's for any server, bartender, bar owner, tavern owner type bar. Somebody that serves alcohol, and it just kind of goes over how to read an ID, how to look for a fake ID, how to tell if someone had too much to drink. It kind of is above and beyond the required training for the state.
Sure.
So it's just something that's been going on in Winnebago County. I think there's been 3 classes so far, and we've been working with all our local law enforcement, and they've been helping to put that on, and it's gone over really, really well. The people that attend are really glad that they took it, and they all learned something. And we're also working with Oshkosh, at least, I don't know about the other ones, but with Oshkosh PD to take fake IDs when people get them and they're like, oh, this is a fake. There wasn't any protocol of how to like collect them all and destroy them or whatever, or figure out who was giving them out. So now we're working on a protocol that the police will go in and collect them all, and they'll do follow-up. And there's been, people that are 21, 22, 23 that all of a sudden receive a citation, and they're like, well, what the heck is this for? It's for giving your ID to some other person. It's not you, and now they know who you are because here's your fake ID. So it's like, and they're like, whoa, oh my gosh, I never got caught before. This is my 5th ID. Like, well, yeah, we're working on that. So just be aware, we're working on that.
Okay, excellent. Well, you guys are working on a lot of things, and you really are pulled in a number of different directions. And so, I really appreciate your being here this evening, especially in light of all that. And keep up the good work.
Thank you.
So
it's fun.
You betcha.
It's exciting and fun. sponsor.
All right. Well, we're going to take a real short break, and when we come back, we're going to be joined by the coach and a couple of players from the Oshkosh Ice Hawks hockey team. We'll be right back.
Every year, the U.S. Department of the Treasury receives about 1.4 million reports of problems with paper checks. Checks can be lost, stolen, or delayed. If you still receive Social Security payments by paper check, Treasury wants you to know about a safer, more convenient way to get your money. The Direct Express Prepaid Debit MasterCard. The Direct Express card is new and is available to anyone receiving Social Security benefits, even if you don't have a bank account. Your monthly benefits will be automatically placed onto your card account each month on the day your money is due. While other debit cards cost money, it is possible to use the Direct Express card for free to make purchases, pay bills, and get cash at thousands of locations nationwide. There are no sign-up or monthly account fees. No more waiting for the mail or worrying about lost or stolen checks. Call 1-877-212-9991 or visit www.usdirectexpress.com.
And welcome back to the second half of Eye on Oshkosh. Joined now by Kurt Bukes. You're the coach for the Oshkosh Ice Hawks hockey team. And to my left, I have seniors. You're both from Oshkosh West?
Yes.
Okay. Taylor Moore and Tanner Greedle. Okay, excellent. Thank you all very much for being here tonight. Well, we had you guys on last year, different people, but we had the team on last year, and we wanted to do this again at the outset of your season. Now, we were just talking just a moment ago before we started taping that you actually had your first scrimmage game yesterday, and of course we're taping this on the 18th of November, so by the time this airs, it'll be a week old, at least. Yeah. But you know, how did that game go?
Scrimmage went well. It was a chance to go out, run against another team. We've been going at each other in practice for a week and a half, so it was a good opportunity to go out and compete against a different opponent, and things went pretty well overall. We definitely have some things to work on still, but I think we're headed in the right direction, and we were competitive throughout the scrimmage.
All right, good. Now, when do you play your actual first game?
Our first game is this Saturday, the 20th, versus Oconomowoc down at their barn. So again, it's another good chance, and it's kind of nice sometimes to start out on the road. A little better chance for the guys to bond, starting out on the road like that and against a good opponent.
Sure. And of course, by the time this airs, that game will be over too. So, what you know, have you had a chance to kind of see anything that Oconomowoc is doing and kind of figure out some strategy here, or?
Haven't seen anything with them yet this year. I believe they also have a new head coach this year, so I have seen them in the past. I previously coached with Janesville High School, so I had some opportunities to see them there. And we're right now just kind of concerned about ourselves and what we're doing, and try and make the opponent adjust to us whenever possible. So I think we'll be fairly evenly matched going into it based on what I've seen in the past. But again, they have a new coach and new things going on there too, which is exciting for them. Sure.
So what brought you to Oshkosh?
Employment, initially with Oshkosh Corporation, and I had previously coached in Janesville for about 11 years with a high school team there, and came up and didn't have an opportunity with the new job and everything to to get involved last year, but had spoke with Coach Dyer, and when he stepped down, he turned me on to the job and that it was available, and it was a chance for me to take over my own program. I'd been an assistant down in Janesville for the 11 years down there with head JV coach and then assistant varsity coach. So it was kind of a nice opportunity to see if I can make it work.
Sure. Did you find it, or are you finding it difficult, Coach, to kind of take over the reins from someone else and then, make it your team, put your own footprint, if you will, on the team?
Not necessarily. I say with a lot of experience coming in, and it's kind of a different group of guys this year, different group of players this year. We've added some other schools to our co-op, so it's kind of a fresh start from that perspective. And we're all kind of new to it at the same time, so
sure.
It makes it a little bit easier that way.
Sure. Well, you mentioned, you used the word co-op, and I think it's important for viewers to realize that this isn't, even though you're both from Oshkosh West, this isn't just an Oshkosh West hockey team.
Yes.
It's comprised of different schools. Maybe you can tell us and share for our viewers a little bit about that.
Sure. The co-op this year includes the Oshkosh schools, West, North, Lourdes, Valley Christian, although we don't have anybody from Valley Christian right now, but they do have the opportunity to participate in that. And this year we've added Winneconne, Laconia, Berlin, and Ripon to the co-op. So it's a pretty big, so there's 7 schools involved on the co-op right now. So that's it's nice that more kids are getting an opportunity to play. In a perfect world, it would be great that everybody had their own team and to run against each other. But at this point, you have to start somewhere, and to get more kids playing the game.
Sure. Well, and I was going to say, is that the goal? Because it is different from certainly any other sport that I'm accustomed to seeing. I'm not accustomed to seeing players from so many different schools coming together. So that's the goal then, because you probably wouldn't have enough if it was just related to one school, or?
Yes, if it was just each individual school, there wouldn't be enough from, none of the schools in the co-op would be able to basically participate with a full team that way. So that is the purpose. Again, you like everybody to have their own school and have those inner city rivalries from that perspective. But more kids are getting a chance to play right now, and it's going to be a long road to get it to where it's not a co-op, but that's the ultimate goal.
Sure. Well, we talked about the scrimmage game that you just played the day before we're taping this, but we have a clip from a scrimmage game, I believe this was last summer, or this past summer, I should say. I guess that's last summer also. Why don't we go ahead and show that, and Coach, if you can just kind of tell us, what we're going to be seeing here.
Sure.
Do they have it ready? Okay. Go ahead. There we go.
Well, this is us in the offensive zone. I believe this is actually from last year, possibly, in the game. But us in the offensive zone, attacking the other team's net, and trying to move the puck around. That's our big thing we're focusing on this year is our ability to move the puck, to get the puck and move it to open areas, and increase our shot selection from there. And there's a goal from our point. That's the big thing we've talked with our defensemen this year is to put the puck on net, to shoot to put the puck in play for us.
Okay. Now, where was this at?
I believe this was Shawano, possibly.
All right. And any of those players that we just saw, are any of them with the team this year? Both of you guys?
Yes, the guy that scored was Brett Wolf, and he's currently on our team this year.
Okay. All right, good. Okay. Well, let's talk to you two young men here and bring you into the conversation here. Taylor and Tanner, what position do each of you play, and how long have you been playing? You said this is at least your second year. So.
Yeah. I'm a forward. I've been playing maybe 9 years, 10 years.
Okay.
And I've just played through the Oshkosh program and then worked my way up to high school.
Okay. And what about you?
I played defense, and actually me and Taylor, I think, joined the same Oshkosh program at about the same time. Been on each other's team ever since. So.
Okay. What is it about hockey that's interested you? I mean, so many guys, when they get into high school, it's football, it's basketball. sometimes it's baseball. What is it about hockey that has intrigued you guys for this many years?
I think it's since I started young, I just fell in love with the sport, and then I think I knew I was pretty good at it, or I was better than it than the other sports like basketball or wrestling. So I just decided to stick with it and see where I went from there.
Yeah, kind of the same thing. It's a unique sport, especially in America. You know, the main focus is on football and soccer and hockey, or on basketball. And even in our schools, hockey isn't the most popular sport. So just to have a chance to play something unique like that caught my eye.
How is it for getting girls, though? we know what football does for the guys. What does hockey do?
I don't know.
All right. Okay. Well, maybe I got my answer there. I don't know. Lack of popularity with the sport all the way around. But the sport does seem to be gaining in popularity. Maybe not by leaps and bounds, but it is gaining, I think, some steam, isn't it?
I believe so. And on the national picture with the past Olympics, with the U.S. and Canada playing for the gold medal, drew a lot of people in. You know, at the pro level, there's there's only I think 6 Canadian teams. Being a Canadian sport, but there's only 6 teams from Canada actually in the NHL. So little by little, they're getting into markets in the southern markets and whatnot is helping hockey expand. And pretty much anybody that goes to watch a game returns.
Okay. Now, you guys get no funding from the Oshkosh School District, and I'm not sure necessarily why that is. Is that because it's, comprised, your team is, your co-op is comprised of players from all these different schools and school districts, or why is it that you're not getting funding from, do you get funding from any school districts?
No, we don't have any from any school districts. It's all about fundraising and our booster club. And then the fees that the players pay, that's also something that's a goal to get us into the mainstream with the other sports and to get on that page. And I think it'll take a little bit of time, possibly, to accomplish that. But that is the goal, to make it more affordable for kids to be able to play and want to play at that high school level, and have an opportunity to play in front of their friends and family on a Friday night. Much like the football and basketball guys do.
Sure.
So
what kinds of fundraising do you do then?
A lot of it is this year. They've done a lot of fundraising through advertising in a program booklet that's been put together through our booster club.
This booklet right here?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Yes, this booklet right here with the advertising with different people in here. They've been able to raise a lot of funds that way. And at the games, we also have they'll be having like Chuck a Puck. Where people get a chance between periods to throw a puck out onto the ice so you can get it closest to the cone. At center ice, so 50-50 raffles, that kind of thing throughout the season.
Okay. As players, were you guys, is it required that you try and sell the advertising, you sell the programs? What is your role in the fundraising end of things?
Well, as a player, I think it is part of our responsibility to raise this money, since we don't get funding from the school district, but we try our best to contribute to the club.
Win games, right?
Yeah. Or try to get the kids from school to come support. Maybe they'll chip in for the 50-50 raffle and pay for the Chuck Puck things, and just help us raise more money like that way.
Sure. Refreshments, during the game, the intermissions, what have you. Is that part of the fundraising also, or is that something a little bit different?
I think that's something a little bit different with that.
Okay. All right. Let's talk in some specifics about going to a game itself. Where are the games played? How much are the games, if people want to go?
The games are all played at the Y. Our home games, anyways, are all played at the Y on 20th Street.
Okay.
I believe it's probably $4 or $5 per person to get into the game. Most of our games, we'll have schedules up. We're trying to get something where we can get out around town, posters with our schedule up with the home games on it. And I believe we have 10 home games this year, and most of them will fall on a Friday night, Saturday afternoon. Till
Okay. Well, we've actually got, I think, a clip here of the schedule of this season's games. So as long as we were talking about it, why don't we bring that up now, and people can kind of take a look at it. And I think it goes probably slow enough. I know it kind of rolls or scrolls, but I think it goes slow enough that folks can, jot a couple of things down here if they want to, and we can just keep talking while they're doing that. So it's $4 or $5 a game then to get in, and is that for any age, or do you have a reduced price for like kids or seniors?
I think it's
Senior
less for the
citizens.
students and kids, and the adults I think are right around $5
Okay.
to get in, and I think it's pretty cheap night entertainment to come out and support a local team, and hopefully we can put on a good show
Okay.
for everybody when they come out.
Now, there's also family entertainment besides the game itself. Last year, some of the pep bands from North and Oshkosh West were there. What's on the schedule for this year?
Yeah, we're looking. We don't have any particular dates right at this moment, but we will have the bands out. We'd like to see them out, representatives from each of the schools at some point to come out for that. We're also looking at and working with the youth hockey organization to run like our Mighty Mites, maybe a little cross ice game in between periods for 7-8 minutes, something like that. So Grandma and Grandpa is going to kick out of that. So.
Okay.
And then most of the crowd does too. So trying to do a few things with the youth hockey to build that relationship with them.
Okay. What does it cost, like on average? What does it cost each of your families for you to be able to play this sport on an annual basis?
I'm not really sure.
You don't write out the check, so you don't know.
Exactly. I'm guessing it's quite much for how much my parents complain about it.
Well, but they're supportive of it because
Yes.
you keep doing it.
Yes.
So that's the main thing. And it's good to have something that you guys are, that you enjoy and that you're involved in. How much on average does it cost a family, to have one of their kids involved in this?
It can cost a couple $1,000. I mean, easily a couple $1,000 a year, probably.
Really?
I mean, between
Wow.
fees, equipment, in the youth organizations with the travel. I know local organizations are tending now not to travel quite as much as what they had in the past, and trying to keep costs down for people. But it can add up, especially with growing kids. They grow right out of the equipment. There is opportunities played against sports, used equipment that people can do to help keep the costs down. But yeah, it's one of the more expensive. It's more than a pair of sneakers and shorts,
Yeah.
Than for basketball. So.
How does it compare? And maybe you don't know this. It's kind of an unfair question since you coach hockey and not football. But do you have some sense of how the cost compares between this and football?
It's quite drastic.
Really?
Higher for the hockey program. Well, without the school district
Yeah.
kicking in right now. But again, that's one of our goals to kind of get that evened out over the years, and I think that's a testament to the parents. They keep the kids playing. The cost can rise from that perspective.
Sure. Well, and I know you'd like to have the school district kick in some bucks. I don't know, with school budgets the way they are, I think more and more we're seeing things taken away from sports.
Sure.
Maybe it could go the other way and even things out, and that way everybody's still on an even playing field, but maybe no school district participates in kicking in for any sports. I don't know, maybe that would be the way to go and save someone's budget. But either way, it's good that kids are involved in these activities and not on the street causing problems. If people can't make it to a game live, what are their alternatives on this particular channel, on the city cable channel, or the community cable access to, or whatever it might be in, the surrounding areas? Are these games shown? They're not shown live, are they?
Not live, but there is the tape. The tape games will
Okay.
be showing.
They're tape delayed?
Yeah, tape delayed throughout the season, and there may also be some radio broadcasts at some point.
Do you
with
know
that.
how much of a delay they are? Are they delayed by like a week or a couple weeks, or do you have any idea?
I'm not sure, honestly, right offhand. I believe it's probably a couple weeks, at least with a delay. But any kind of press is good press
Sure.
from that.
Sure. Well, and if anyone is in question, you can always go to Oshkosh Community Media Services website and look on their schedule for when when these games might be replayed. And speaking of websites, you have a Facebook page for the Ice Hawks, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, there is a Facebook page, Oshkosh Ice Hawks. It's up with it. You can find our schedule on there.
Okay.
Also, and any up-to-date changes or anything that comes up it's all accessible through the Facebook page, and they have the team roster on there and the pictures and everything. And
Okay. Well, I know sometimes these Facebook page addresses can be long and complicated, so I guess just go to facebook.com and do a little search of Oshkosh Ice Hawks, and that should bring it up for you. What other things can they find on the Facebook page?
Again, there's opportunities for discussions on the pages. Some different links on there. To another website. That's runs throughout the state for all the high school hockey teams. Also, like I say, again, opportunities to view our roster and see our players. And
Okay. All right. And you had mentioned also, Coach, about the possibility of radio with your game about to get underway here in just a couple of days as we're taping this. Do you know when that will be a reality, if it's going to happen, or no?
It would probably be somewhat maybe later in the season that we're working towards with that. It's going to take a little time, I think, to set that up. But
Okay, all right. You had also mentioned a couple minutes ago about the fact that they're not traveling as much these days. Why is that? Is that because of the cost, or is that just one of a couple of different reasons?
I think that's a bigger part of it. Is probably the cost. I knew when I came up playing, which was many years ago, but I'd play 6 games a weekend, traveling all over. I played in Rockford, Illinois, and we'd start the day in Green Bay, on a Saturday morning, and we'd end up down in south side of Chicago Saturday night. So the costs added up, the hotel rooms and whatnot. So I think that's a big part of it is staying local, and you can find enough teams locally to compete with. You don't have to drive cross country to play a good hockey team anymore. Sure. So there's more teams available in the areas too. It's not just so sparse and spread out.
Sure. Now, guys, on your particular team, on the Ice Hawks, you've got, obviously, you're both from Oshkosh West, like we mentioned. Where are some of the other players from? Well, we've heard all the schools that are in the co-op, but where are some of your teammates from?
Our goalie is actually from Berlin.
Okay.
We have a kid from Winneconne. And then we have a kid from Laconia.
Wow. Okay. All right. So that's a little bit of a distance too.
Yeah, and give the kids credit for being there every day, and kind of paying that price.
You mentioned every day. Do you do practice every day then, or?
Yes, we have on ice practice for about an hour and 15 minutes, and then we'll do our off ice conditioning for probably an hour after that. So it is a time commitment. And to the boys' credit, they've all been there every day and working hard. So. Okay.
How is it for you guys playing with teammates from other schools? A nice camaraderie, or would you prefer it to just kind of be from your own school with people that you know probably pretty well?
I think it's definitely a nice camaraderie. There's no doubt about it. There's not really any cliques on our team. We're all one team. We all are trying to strive for one common goal, and that's kind of what unites us.
Okay, excellent. Well, good. Okay, as we kind of wrap this up, what other things would any of you like the viewers to know, either about why they should come out and support the team, support the co-op, anything?
Just to give yourselves an opportunity to have good entertainment, and again to support a local team. And give them an opportunity to succeed. And we'll be out in the community throughout the years with some different events as a team too. So I think it's important to build that relationship with the community. Also, we have to put in our time, if we expect people to give us their time. So.
You mentioned community events. What else are you going to be doing real quickly?
We're looking possibly, ringing some bells at Christmas, or getting involved in some different things in that vein.
Okay. All All right, good. Well, I'm being given the cue here to kind of wrap things up, so I thank you all very much for being here tonight. It's been a real pleasure, and good luck with your upcoming season.
Thank you.
Your first game this weekend.
Thank you.
And, hopefully it'll go well. All right, and that's going to do it for us. Thank you to all of you for joining us, as always. We'll see you next time. Until then, take good care. Keep your eye on us. We've got our eye on Oshkosh.
Thank you.